Hey guys, happy Friday. Welcome to season 4 of the Collaboration Conversation, a listener-supported video podcast where Christian artists, entrepreneurs, and friends share about their upcoming projects and how they are using the gifts and talents that God has given them. To what end? Of course, as always, it's to share the good news of King Jesus. And today we are so excited because we have very special guest, Les Best, with us. Les is a U.S. military veteran, retired school teacher, and an actor who just recently wrapped up the film Eyes of a Roman. He has a very interesting story and that we are so excited to hear today. First of all, I just want to say thank you for your service and welcome.
You are so welcome, and I so appreciate you saying that. Thank you. I work with the veterans as well, and it's something that I say. And I had one guy respond to me one time. I'd never heard it before. I said, "Thank you for your service," and he said, "You're worth it."
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's cool.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
Wow. My husband was in the Air National Guard, and so he's always just really, really good about thanking veterans for their service. And his favorite is "My pleasure," but "You were worth it" is also
awesome.
really good.
Well, so this is, so side note, and we're going to get back to you very quickly here, but your cousin David, and we'll talk about him in a hot second, and his wife Pam have an adopted family down the street from them, and their son just went through the crucible, and it ended this morning. So, Lord willing, everything went well. He's a Marine now, and that just happened a few hours ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's big in David and Pam's life. I mean, he's that family is family to them. So that's just pretty cool. So,
Amazing.
Well, it's great to have you here. We've not met before. And as I mentioned, your first cousin David, and I, and my husband and his wife Pam were having dinner, and he said, we were talking about the podcast, and he said, "Well, my cousin's an actor." And I said, "No, I didn't know that." He goes, "You should have him on the podcast." And I said, "All right, we'll do that." So he sent me your contact information, and we've gone from there to connect with you.
I love when that happens.
I haven't had a chance to thank him, but I will definitely thank him. Because of COVID, we were getting to see him just about every year because with family reunion, and COVID kind of shut that down. But I'll need to thank him.
Yeah,
That's actually that's my favorite way of guests being connected with us, is like a listener's like, "Do you know who you have to have?"
Yeah.
And that's the best.
Well, and Pam's our go-to person for topics.
Yes,
so,
we do love Pam.
We love the bests. So, but we're super excited to hear your story. I mean, he said his journey is incredible. You got to ask him about it. So here we go. Let's start with just tell us a little bit about you and your family as we get started.
Okay. Grew up in a Christian home, a godly home. We would, my memories are getting up for devotions first thing in the morning. The whole family, there were 6 of us. I was the baby. And reading devotions. And it went from straight Bible readings, or it might be the Haley's stories of the Bible. But we would always start with that. And if the kids decided that they didn't want to go, we didn't want to come down for that, that was okay. But we would be assigned a Bible verse that we had to learn because we hadn't made it to the breakfast devotion.
That's great.
So, yeah, and that's what I remember. And of course, we were church Sunday morning from 9 o'clock until 12:30 or 1, and then from as I got older, got more involved, choir and other stuff, and so it was 4:30 until 8 on Sunday nights,
right.
Yep,
and Wednesday, and then you get older and you go into visitation on Tuesdays.
Yep,
that's great.
So church is just a huge part of our lives, and parents were godly people. I'm not going to say they were perfect,
sure,
but they were godly, and they tried to raise us up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And when I started college, and I had found out that I loved theater in high school, and saw a group, a repertory theater company came through town. I was living in Muskogee at the time. I grew up in Tulsa. In the 6th grade, moved to Muskogee, and was going to First Baptist Church in Muskogee. And they had the Covenant Players come, and Covenant Players was a Christian repertory theater company that had been started in L.A. in around 1963 by a Hollywood director who wrote plays for two people, and just to talk about different themes. And it started in California and just started expanding across the United States and then into all parts of the world. And if you'll remember, in the 70s, there was a lot more drama in theater, that makes it sound like
bad drama.
Bad drama. The theater, a lot more theater in churches. You would have churches during the services,
yes.
And that's declined of late. And Covenant Players have pretty much decreased. They're not as numerous. They're not on regular tours anymore. But this was 1976, 77. I toured with them for a year and a half all over the United States. Wanted to go to New York and be an actor. Instead, got married, had kids, and throughout my life involved in churches with theater, the same kind of theater that we did with Covenant Players, that same kind of thing. And would occasionally get involved in community theater. But as I started winding down my career, I was teaching middle school theater and wanted to talk to them about movies, but had never done a movie, didn't want to teach out of a book. And so I got on some sets as an extra, living in Austin now.
Okay. Yeah.
And got into a couple of movies and thought that was really, really a lot of fun, and started auditioning for independent movies and found I preferred it to theater. Yeah. And so that's where it went from there. And now I'm doing exclusively movies, nothing else but movies, and just having a great time with it.
That's awesome.
That's very cool. All right. Well, you skipped really quickly over this part, but you have wife and kids?
I have, and I will be vulnerable here. I'm going to tell you that after 37 years, my wife and I had a divorce. I've gotten remarried.
Okay.
And between the two of us, we have 9 grandchildren.
Oh, yay!
And and it's wonderful having grandchildren. As a matter of fact, we might even have more because my wife's son just got married. Her youngest son just got married, so we may be expanding that 9 and having.
We love that.
Yay!
That's awesome.
That's very cool. Are any of the grandkids near you?
Oh, they're all near us.
Good.
Of course, hers. I live in Waco now. Hers are all in this area, and mine live in Georgetown, Texas, just outside of Austin, and Cedar Park. Okay. And so that's all within about an hour. So,
yay!
That's the dream. That's your dream.
Yeah. It's never going to happen. That's all right. She has a puppy, and I love her puppy, so we're good.
Someday, we'll see. But that's awesome.
That is cool. Yeah. Well, so at what point in that story that you were kind of telling us, did you join the military?
Right after I got married, I was still in college, going to college, and I had said that I was going to, go to New York. Yes. After I graduated from college, got my degree, I was going to go to New York, and my wife at the time had an ectopic pregnancy, and I'm in school, and I'm thinking, I can't do this. I've got to take care of family. Yeah. And so I dropped out of school and started working. And I was working as a DJ in a radio station. and
Cool.
talked to someone who was an Army recruiter and said, you could do this in the Army and you could earn educational points. And they were telling me all the positives about it. And, I felt like that was what I was supposed to do. So I got out. I got in.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Joined the Army and was in for just 15 months. And it wasn't happening the way I thought it was going to happen. And there was a door open for me I had 2 years of college. I was able to be released from active duty to go back, get my degree, come back in as a second lieutenant.
Wow.
And so that happened. I went back in as a second lieutenant, as an officer, and served until right after Desert Storm. Got to serve and got that opportunity. And right after that, my body just fell apart. I remember the first time we went on a run after I got back, my hips felt like they were just going to split in half. I couldn't run, and it just gradually caved in on me, and I was medically retired from the Army. And I don't know. I really am so much healthier today than I was at the time that I was released from active duty. I take care of myself. Watch my diet. I stretch. I work out. All of that, and don't overdo it. I obviously don't run anymore. Don't even try to do that. Yeah. But I feel so blessed to be healthy and doing well.
Good for you.
Did you ever get to DJ in the Army?
I did not.
I hate not quite the promise.
Well, I know, but they bring you in with that. It's like...
Yeah. Well, this is what they said. It's so funny. They're really good at it. I said, I want to be a DJ. And they said, well, if you DJ, if you audition for DJ and you don't get it, you're just going to end up as an infantryman, fighting as an infantryman somewhere. What we recommend is you go into communications where you can get your, you can work with electronics. You can get your journeyman electrician. When you get out, you can make a lot more money than you would make as a DJ unless you hit it big, and you would have all these opportunities. And I thought, boy, that makes a lot of sense.
That sounds great.
So I went in and got sent to Fort Lewis, Washington, the last light infantry unit. I became the guy who carried the radio for the commander in our light infantry unit, walking up and down the line.
Oh no.
Should have just auditioned.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Yes.
It was, and I never even got my hand on a voltmeter.
Jeez.
I was out there in the
sorry.
field.
Well, I mean, that's good and bad. I'm sure that there were pluses. I'm sure you learned things that you you would never know before. So
absolutely, it challenged me in ways. And I think we get we get on this drive toward comfort and what is easy and what we're good at, or just simply what we enjoy. And sometimes it's good, and I mean this honestly, it is good to get pushed out of our boundaries, do things we don't enjoy occasionally, and find out a little bit more about ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what this was.
No, absolutely.
Well, so I'm not sure which is harder, what you were doing there, or you became a middle school theater teacher. Talk about that transition.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Well, and it was on an Army base. It was at Fort Hood. The school is called Audie Murphy, who was one of the most highly decorated, or the most highly decorated soldier in U.S. history.
Yeah.
So all of these were students with parents. When there were deployments to Iraq, they would be coming to school, and mom or dad would be gone, or maybe both.
Wow. Okay.
There was a high level of borderline poverty, kids that weren't getting all their meals, and kids that didn't have their parents all the time. Oh. And so I really wanted to teach in middle school, because when I was in middle school, I thought theater was speech. I saw all these speech kids in there, and I thought, I don't want to do that. I mean, acting would be fun. So I didn't even find out how much I love theater until I auditioned for my first play as a junior in high school.
Oh.
And so I thought, if I could have a program that brought kids in and kind of showed them what they could do, what they could experience and have a good time, and teach them a little bit about it, so that they can know about it early enough to make the decision.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it was tough because, middle school kids.
Yes,
Sure.
that's all you have to say.
That's all you have to say. We get it.
The kids, we have three, my husband and I have three kids, and when they get to middle school, I would just give them to him. And so he could take care of them for 2 or 3 years, and then you can give them back when they go into high school. That is just the hardest time. My husband's a middle school teacher. It's just crazy. My oldest son works with middle school kids as well. But that's a gift. Teaching is a gift.
It's a specific.
Teaching a middle school people, that's an extraordinary gift. So good for you. So I guess I thought, in my mind, you had gotten out of the military and started teaching, but you were teaching while you were still in.
Still in the military?
In the Army, yeah.
In the Army?
No, he just was teaching on the base.
As a matter of fact, I did a couple of other things. I mean,
okay.
When I got out of the Army, I kind of landed flat-footed. I didn't know what I was going to do, and it was during a time. It was '93. It was a time of a lot of downsizing of companies, and I was really struggling trying to make a living. And I ended up at the University of Texas as a systems analyst. I got trained as a systems analyst.
Wow!
I did that for about 10 years.
Okay.
We also, so many things happened. We bought a Queen Anne Victorian home and turned it into an event center during this time. And we would have weddings and special events. And during that time, I would also have mystery dinner theaters.
That's cool.
So cool.
It was,
okay.
All right. It was very cool. It was an amazing time. And then during that time, I started teaching at kind of the end of that.
Nice.
That's so cool. Well, so as a middle school theater teacher, did you guys do productions? Did you do full-blown productions?
Yes, we did. And I will tell you, the budget was not such that we could afford to purchase huge things. And I honestly, with my group, I did have my segments on Shakespeare, and I did have my segments on those classics, but I didn't have too many aha moments with the kids during that time.
Gotcha.
I mean, they were sitting there trying to read these words, and of course, King James is not read anymore in homes. So you're going from kids, some of them reading at a third grade level, to trying to get them to understand what these foreign words are that are from the 16th century. And I would write our productions.
Oh, nice.
And in fact, we had a musical one time where I had the kids choose their own songs. We and I hate to say this, I'm going to admit this, we stole them. We played them and they sang them. As part of, we wrote a script that went along with the songs.
Oh, I love that. Little jukebox musical. We love that.
Yeah, it was so much fun, and the kids could get into what was going on, and the dialogue was something that they were familiar with. And the main thing I wanted them to get wasn't just simply, I think absolutely we want to teach our kids classics, but what I wanted them to do was get comfortable just simply talking without acting. Yeah. Making those words what they believe, so that they could have a conversation. And one of them would be mom, and one of them would be dad, and they'd be the kid, and they'd be having a discussion, an argument, but written in such a way that they could feel it. And so that's what we did for our productions.
Yeah, I love that. It was so personal.
Awesome.
They're singing a song that they picked.
Right.
Yeah.
That just adds a whole other creative element besides, hey, we're going to do this show. Here's who you're going to play. Learn your lines.
Right. And
here's your blocking.
They have ownership and they're invested.
Right.
That's great.
Oh, for sure.
a lot of fun. I mean, those are some of my some of the best times ever. And I will tell you, I did get into a lot of the classical. I didn't want them getting out of theater and not knowing what the proscenium arch was, and,
Sure.
and what the history of theater was, and where this all came from. And a lot of them would say, "Why are we having to learn this?" And, and I would say, when you go to a symphony, you've got people that are sitting there. Some of them are just watching to hear the music. Some of them are actual artists that have maybe played that symphony. Some of them know the history of the person that wrote it. Everybody's enjoying it on a different level.
Yeah.
And when you go to a play, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Everyone is seeing it on a different level. And I want you to have a little deeper level when you're going, and not just simply watching and looking at the program. I want you to know exactly where everything comes from.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. What
a blessing you were to those kids.
Yeah, totally. I would be great if some of one or two or six or however many would come back and say, this is how your investment affected my life.
Yeah.
Now I have a child who is an actor, or just, who knows? This is anecdotal, but, Sarah did, I think you were in 5th grade or 6th grade, and she did a Julius Caesar monologue. And I thought, what a waste of time. Absolutely, in my mind, right?
Of course, from Shakespeare.
Yeah, it was the Friends Romans Country.
Friends Romans Country. Okay, sure, yeah.
And in my mind,
yeah, Mark Antony.
Yeah. I'm so not an actor, and I just thought it was a waste of time. Well, it turns a year or two later, she auditions for Shakespeare in the Park in Nashville, and she gets in, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, maybe that wasn't that big of a big of a waste of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's great that you just invested in them, and that they're going to be able to take it to the next level.
Absolutely.
Well, so I'm sure that you've got a bunch of work between there and now, but you just finished work on a period piece called Eyes of a Roman.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Well, have a friend, and can I interject just real quickly? I want to talk about something that we were going to talk about, and if this is out of sequence, I can wait. But the idea of a Christian in movies, a Christian actor. My view of a Christian actor is just like a Christian in any field: insurance, lawyer, doctor, teacher, whatever it is. The people that you're likely to influence the most are the people that you're working with on set. Mm-hmm. And you have an opportunity. Most of the movies I do are not Christian movies.
Yeah.
And I have, in fact, I have directors who I am good friends with, and most of them young men who are at an enmity with God, with Jesus right now. One of them, when I'm thinking of these two, one of them grew up in a Christian home, and when he describes his home life, it sounds very much like mine, only he sees it as more of an occultic experience, raised in a cult.
Yeah,
gotcha.
He had the sweetest parents, but that is the way it turned him away.
That's how he views it. Yeah.
And the other one with Eyes of a Roman, wonderful guy, and just doesn't get it. Doesn't get all the stuff with Jesus. That's all. I mean, he doesn't hate it. He just doesn't get it. It just doesn't make any sense to him. Well, I believe that God has given me the opportunity to get to know them, to meet them, maybe just to plant seed.
Yes.
I don't know if it will be to plant seed or to water, but this is one of those opportunities, and we have a wonderful relationship. CJ is just a precious guy, a wonderful guy. He's got 2 kids and a wife, and he had come up with this period piece. He loves period pieces. He talked about doing something on the Alamo at some point, and that's on the back burner. But he wanted to do this about the battle between Rome and Spartacus, when Spartacus broke free with all the slaves. And so I am Crassus, Marcus Licinius Crassus, who basically was so wealthy, I funded my own army to stand up against Spartacus, because he had already defeated 2 Roman legions that were there in Rome protecting Rome, while Pompey was off gallivanting around in other areas. And so I was able to defeat Spartacus. Spoiler.
Yeah,
alert.
I know.
But that is history. So
yes.
But what CJ did that was so intriguing is he weaves in a slave that Crassus meets early on in the when there was a civil war in Rome. Crassus fought on the side of Sulla, and during some of those battles, he comes upon a village that's been destroyed, takes a young barbarian child, raises him as a son, and infiltrates Spartacus with this slave. And the slave kind of turns and says, wait a minute, why is Rome right?
Wow.
Why isn't Spartacus right? Why all he's wanting is freedom, and begins going through this discussion within himself, and it causes a huge rift, of course, with Crassus, and who's given him everything, who's invested everything into him, given him, the opportunity to join him.
That's so interesting.
Nothing historical about it,
yeah,
but it really gets into some nice meaty issues.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
That it's that kind of historical fiction that I like, where you just add this one thing that just changes or makes it just a little bit more interesting, I think. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
I want to go back to one thing you said though. You said he just doesn't get Jesus,
right?
And I think, you know what? We have faith in Jesus, despite the fact that we can't see him. Right? We don't visually interact with him in that way. And so I think, you know what? Jesus is hard to get if you just don't have that faith. Right? I think he did everything backwards. Right? He came and he loved the poor, and he wasn't that military leader that I think some folks, maybe his disciples, thought he would be, that kind of thing. Jesus is hard to get.
Yeah.
But boy, when you get him, you can't let go.
Yeah.
No, that is exactly right. And I think sometimes we as believers, I mean, I talked about the fact that whenever I joined the Army, they said, if you don't get this role, you're going to be an infantryman. Well, in the military, your secondary role is always as an infantryman. Mm-hmm. Always. No matter what you are, you're going to be. I mean, if you're a medic, your secondary role is going to be as an infantryman. Yeah. Well, I think as a believer, all of us, no matter what our giftings are, no matter what we're doing in the church or whatever, we're primarily giving away our faith. I mean, that is what we are supposed to be about, and letting Jesus kind of direct that. I think so many times we think we have to have all the answers, and we're afraid to get into a discussion with somebody who may ask us something that we don't know the answers to, and it's like, yeah, you're really putting more on yourself than you need to.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to know all the answers. And
that's for sure.
In fact, I think if we were able, and I've told people this, what happens when someone accepts Christ is not an intellectual thing. It's totally spiritual.
Yeah.
If you were able to out-debate someone, answer every one of their questions, and they intellectually said, oh, well, that makes sense. I'm going to believe. There's a good chance there was nothing that happened, eternal.
Right.
Jesus told Simon Peter, "Blessed are you, because flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven."
Yes.
And so I think we've got to be ready to just say it's not up to us. We're not going to be able to say the right words. We just need to live it. And if we have the opportunity, ask the question or whatever God puts on our heart, and be faithful to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Well, so I'm going to go back a little bit to something you said, because we're very similar in a lot of ways. And that's that we started in theater, then we did film and got bit by the film bug.
Right.
But you mentioned that you like film more than theater. And I find that while I do more film now than I do theater, I still love theater. And like every time I'm in the theater, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I need to be doing, whether it's community or not, like I need to be doing some kind of theater thing. So I want to just ask you why do you like film more than theater? What was that like for you to kind of experience that shift?
Okay. Well, I want you to know I'm not disparaging anyone in this explanation. Okay. When you do theater, you have 4 to 6 weeks where you're totally immersed. And if it's a musical, and if you have a major role, you're there every day. You're there dancing with your individual dance, with your group, your ensemble, everybody dancing, and then you're learning the chorus and all of that, and then then you're getting out there and practicing, and they give you the dates when you have to be off book and everything. And everybody has their own process.
Sure.
And you have some people that are ready to go, and I want to be ready. I mean, I want to be ready to go right from the beginning. I want to be off book before book. I want to be, and there are people who are going to wait until the last second.
Yep.
And you've got a director there to be the teacher or mom or dad and say, hey, you've got to, with movies, they say, okay, we're going to be, here's the call time. Here are the scenes. I've had them where there was no rehearsal. They just said, okay, let's go. And action. You got to be an adult. Mm-hmm. You are expected to be an adult and know it. Now, I'm not saying that's always the way it is. In fact, it depends on the movie. If we're supposed to have a relationship, they might work on team building things to show that relationship. It's going to depend on the movie. But I feel like in movies, they expect you to be an adult. You're not going to be, come on now.
They're not going to hold your hand. Yeah. Yeah.
There's, and I know that there are going to be people that are going to hear me say that and want to beat me severely. But that is what I love, is being able, I'm putting all that time, instead of putting it on the stage, I'm doing it all on my own. And then showing up, and you better know your lines.
Ready to go.
You better know everything they told you, and have your homework done, do the work, and be prepared. Yeah. And that's what they expect. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get hired anymore.
Right.
Well, that's for sure. Well, let me just one little side note here. One of the things that cracked me up about Sarah, and then her little brother did a couple of shows in community theater in our area here in Nashville. Sarah loved the rehearsals. It was the relationships and all that social, the
camaraderie.
Yes, she would be so disappointed when she had to do the show because it was like so anticlimactic. And Jesse hated the rehearsals. He would rather die than go to rehearsal because he was prepared. Yeah. He just wanted to do the show and get it over with. But you loved rehearsals.
I do love rehearsals.
But you were also off book before.
Yeah. I'm like you. I'm like, I'm coming day one. I'm like ready to go.
Yeah, you're off book, and now rehearsals are going to start.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah. No. I totally get that, and I think there is that aspect that you do lose. I mean, the camaraderie when they are starting to break, when they break the set and they're putting everything away for the next show to come on and all this, tears, hugs.
Yeah.
I mean, it is devastating.
Oh yeah.
And when you are performing, you have that other piece, the audience.
Yeah.
That is there with you. I mean, that is part of the performance, that audience. And you don't have that on in a movie set. You don't have to hold for laughs,
Right.
It's just it is a completely different feel. It's a lot more cold, I think. I will admit that.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I did want to share with you a little comparison, which I love. I'm also a video editor, so I love this because of that. But in theater, you rehearse, like you said, for 4 to 8 weeks, and you're nailing tone, you're nailing pace, the holding for applause or for laughs. You're rehearsing all of that. You're nailing it down so that it's ready to go on opening night. This director that I work with a lot, he really loves the editing process because that's the rehearsal. So you film, like you said, you might do some team building, but you really aren't going to have very many rehearsals, if any. You're just going to go on that day, learn your blocking, we're going. Right. So then the rehearsal happens in the editing room where we're looking at different takes. We're pacing the dialogue to get the tone, to get the tone right. Anyway, I just love that it's literally the mirror opposite. And I don't know, that's just a cool imagery that I like. I thought you would enjoy it, is that the rehearsal for film is,
I absolutely. I think that's beautiful. And I will tell you something else. What a lot of people don't realize is the editor is the one that makes or breaks the actor. The editor is the one that makes or breaks the whole project because they've got to choose which take they're going to use. Yeah. And the actor could have done some amazing work. I had a guy one time who edited a movie, a feature, and sent it around to people, and they really didn't like it, and they didn't like this performance, they didn't like that performance, and he went back, and he had a particular actor that every single take was doing something a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Now, in theater, you pretty much are doing the same thing,
right?
All the time, unless it's Broadway where the show gets, extended, and then you're looking for ways to to build. But and there are a lot of actors, even in movies, that think what they're supposed to do is exactly the same thing every time.
Totally, 100%.
But she did something a little different look, just the little subtle things that you see on video. He re-edited the movie, sent it around. They loved it, and they said she was amazing.
Yeah.
It was all based on which takes he used.
100%.
And so, don't sit there when you're, as an actor, thinking that it's all about you, because, it honestly, it's about the actor. Anytime it's all about tech. But in movies, camera and editor.
Yeah, 100%. They say that there's in filmmaking, you make 3 different movies. The writer writes a film. That's a totally different film than the film that the director directs. And then it's a totally different film than the editor edits. So there's 3, there's at any given point, there's 3 different versions of the same film. But that's, we love collaboration. That's the best part. But talking about actors doing the same thing every time, I think it's interesting because we're taught that I've done some film acting education, and a lot of people teach that you got to be consistent, because in editing they want to make sure that you're picking your glass up at the same time, and that's a kind of a different point. Everything should be choreographed when you're eating, whatever. Right. But I think, and this director that I work with, I think he does it beautifully, which he doesn't want the same take. He wants as many different versions as he can get, so that in editing, it totally makes a difference. We can play with something. We can say, hey, this kind of falls flat. Is there one that we have a little bit more intensity? Or, hey, that's too intense. Did we have a take where he took it down a couple notches? And you know what? we do. And because you just don't know until you get into the edit, until you start, feeling around for music. And so anyway, all that, we could literally talk about this all day. But I love that you get that it's actually probably more beneficial to have subtle differences, within takes, so that your editor has something to play with, so that there's a story to create, and it's not just this, picking one take that's the same performance every time. I think
I do, and getting a little bit into the acting piece. Obviously, we hate the word acting.
Sure, listening,
reacting,
yes.
Right? It's being so involved with the person, your scene partner, whatever's going on, that you're reacting to them. And if they do something, and a lot of times people don't know exactly what they're doing, but if they bring something a little bit different,
it changes your whole reaction.
Exactly. It's the butterfly effect.
We love it.
One thing causes this to change to this to change, and it can totally make a different intensity of the entire scene. And not that you plan it. You don't sit there and say, well, listen, could you give me this? And hopefully you don't have to do that. I mean, right. I have had situations where I had a scene partner that just wouldn't give me anything.
Yeah.
I mean, and I said, I think if you would bite that off just a little bit stronger and give me something to react to, and it did change a lot.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when you have people that you're comfortable with, they're comfortable with their role, they understand what they're doing, and a director who is totally open to that. Because, I'm glad your director is. Some directors are saying that was different. What was that?
What was that?
I was reacting. He did this. He said, I'm so
totally.
You've all got to be a team.
Oh yeah. And you've got to be malleable in your process. If your process is to try something different every time, but your director's like, nope, I want, you gave me something that I want and I want that. And you got to be able to deliver, which is, like I said, I love film too. I feel like I prefer film, but then I go into a theater and I'm like, my life is meaningless without this.
Yeah. The smells that you have in
my
theater,
gosh.
the makeup.
The
different things that you do, the process that you go through as you're putting on the makeup and becoming the person, rather than sitting in a chair and having it being applied to you. You have to take all that stuff.
And I am not superstitious, but one of my favorite things is having different little superstitions with all of your castmates. Whether you rub elbows right before, or like in the wings, or whatever it is, and waiting in the wings, and there's just a magic that happens there. That I think still happens in film, but for the most part, you don't see that magic until you're in the theater and you've got the surround sound and you've got all the sound effects and everything's mixed and colored. I don't know. You're making me feel like I need to go
audition.
Find an audition.
And I do want to say one other thing that I have found in film that I didn't find in theater. I often play the bad guy.
Oh,
I'm
fun.
The bad guy. And so because I'm the bad guy, there are a lot of actors who are totally fine with chumming up with you and getting to meet you and, hey, how's it going? And kind of having a relationship. And then there's some actors that are a little more method and they stay away from you.
Yeah.
They're not going to talk to you. The first time you say two words is going to be those two words that are on that script.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. If you're not used to it, and I'm not, that's not the way.
Totally.
That's not the way I'm built. And so my initial thought is, did I do something to upset him?
Right.
And then I think, oh, no. That is his way of getting ready for the character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just let them have their process.
Sure. Yeah. And you're totally right. And I sometimes I think that I should be like that, but I'm like, I just don't take myself that serious. That sounds bad. I just try not to take myself that seriously. Now, like with this last film that I did, Amazing Gracie, there was a scene where my sister just died. And there's no dialogue. I just walk into her bedroom and have to have, 30 to 45 seconds of reaction to being in her room for the first time since she's passed. And I haven't seen her in a year. So there's a lot of guilt. So anyway, I digress. I try really hard to not be that person on set where I'm like, don't talk to me. Like I'm in my zone. But what I'll do is right before that scene, I'll, put my headphones in, and that's my signifier that I am not able to talk like to you as Sarah
For
right now.
Yeah.
For just, just for a minute. And it's, I don't need all day to prepare for that, but, and luckily I work with a director.
Music?
It's music. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm very music driven. And so I'll listen to music, and, Micah, the director, will say, how long do you need? And depending on the scene and where I'm at that day, I'll say, I need 7 minutes. And so he lets me do that. And if he sees someone start to approach me, he's like, we'll corral them. So that's a good director to know like what your actors need. But you're so right. And it's very frustrating when you meet those people who just, if they have a scene at the end of the day that's hard, and then their whole day is like, don't talk to me, I'm in the zone. I don't know. I'm like, I miss it's the theater camaraderie thing. I'm like, but talk to me, be my friend. I want to be friends with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And in theater, you have to be able to do it instantaneously.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it is, you are from the start until the end. You've got an hour and a half, and it is done.
Yep.
And in film, it may be a month.
Yeah.
And totally out of sequence. And the whole thing.
And like you just said, an hour and a half to do the whole arc of the story, whereas you might have an hour and a half to get this 10 seconds of screen time that have to, really impact your. So, it's just we're comparing two very different things. But I love that you love both, because I love both, and there's magic to be had in both.
I'm not going to tell you that I don't love stage, because
of course. Of course.
I mean, how do you not love it?
Of course.
It's there.
Yeah. Well, tell us what you got coming up. What's in the works for you?
Okay. Well, it's kind of funny. I got called. I'm actually going out for a movie, just a real quick scene. I don't know what happened. I had a friend contact me. They were doing a SAG-AFTRA film in North Houston, and needed about a page worth of dialogue from a dead dad. I'm dead.
Oh.
But I say some lines. I've got to say some lines, and then. Yeah, and I don't even know. They've got some kind of name for that, or they got that a title that isn't going to be the final title. But
sure.
I love when things like that happen. I mean, obviously, they don't tell you. They don't say, we had a really great guy in there, but we lost him. Can you come fill up? They just say, hey, Les, we got a role we need. Can you come in last minute? We
Yes.
They never tell you. But I'm getting ready. This is all for Sherlock Holmes. We are doing, it's CJ again. He's doing another period piece. And Sherlock Holmes has fallen on hard times. And all of his past has come back to haunt him. And he's moved into a house by himself and just feels like his life has been wasted.
Wow.
And so he's going through the depths of despair, the dark soul of the night.
Yes.
Or the dark night of the soul.
Night of the soul. Yes. I knew what you meant.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we'll be shooting that in March, April, May time frame. I'm learning violin because Sherlock Holmes was a violin player.
Interesting.
Having a blast. He's pulling up every once in a while. We'll film something to do some crowdfunding.
Yeah,
because not a studio film. It's so.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I got to ask you. Do you? So it's out, which is really cool. This is so far one of my favorite things about you that you haven't actually said, but I've just gleaned, is that you get a lot of work from word of mouth. People just like, oh my gosh, I want to work with him again. Or I think that's spectacular and speaks volumes to you, your talent, your character, how you present yourself on set, things like that. Do you have an agent, or is it all word of mouth? Do you just kind of build your group?
I do have an agent, acclaimed talent in Austin. But I've been with Jason long enough that our arrangement is if he finds the work, then he gets paid. If I find the work, and it has nothing to do with any of the work that I've done that they pulled from of his, that he's found me, then he doesn't get paid for that.
Then he doesn't get paid. I didn't know if all of your work was found just through word of mouth and through, social
the
or whatever.
Part of it. The biggest
That's
part of
awesome.
it is going to be word of mouth. And I will tell you, I think that is the other part of being a Christian in your work is being the absolute best you can. And it doesn't mean you're going to be the best. I think we should strive to be the best, but we're not competing against anybody. We're asking God. I mean, the Bible says, "Whatever you do, do it heartily, as unto the Lord, and not unto men." And that's Galatians, isn't it? Galatians 3:23. And he's talking to slaves. He's talking to slaves who have no choice. And he said, "Whatever you do, do it heartily, as unto the Lord, and not unto men." And I mean, if God expects slaves to do that, how much more does he expect us to do that?
Totally.
And 1 Corinthians 10:31, therefore whatsoever you do, whether you eat or drink or whatsoever you do all to the glory of God. I think that we want to be the absolute best, to be the that we can in absolutely everything we can to represent, so that when people hear that we're a Christian, if they didn't know, they say, "Okay, well, that makes sense."
Yes, it does. Yeah. I love that.
I think it's critical.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, so I don't know if you know a whole lot about our podcast, but one of the things that kind of the main thing that we do is we strongly believe that God has given each of us unique talents and gifts, and you all got some similar ones, I think. But even interests and passions and all of these things, and we're supposed to use those to create this work of art. But we call it a brick, and we work together in collaboration with God as He's building His kingdom. And so it's our offering, right? We're offering our brick to Him, and we just pray that He will bless that. And so we like to ask our guests, what do you think your talents and your gifts are? So if you wouldn't mind, just share with us what you think God's given you.
Well, I believe that teaching is one of my gifts, and putting things in such a way that they're understandable, and and in teaching, having patience, understanding how someone learns, and having the patience to not give up. Not get frustrated at them if they're not understanding. Approach it from a different way, and I believe God has definitely honed that in me, because and is still honing it. I mean, who's not still under control?
Sure, right. Sure.
But I think that I used to be a lot less patient and a lot more insecure, so that if someone didn't understand something, I wanted to blame them. Rather than owning that, saying, "Okay, let's look at it this way." And so that is a big one. And I don't know if acting is it's not necessarily one of the spiritual gifts, but I do believe that it is a talent.
It's a talent,
that God has given me, and a love for that, and I do just absolutely love it. I don't care what the stage is or where it is. I do enjoy doing that.
Yeah,
I love that, and He has so clearly set out. I mean, we know this and we believe this, that He set out good works for us to do in advance, and I think that can be a set. I think that He can have a set in mind for you 5 years, 10 years from now, and he knows who you're going to talk to, and He's given you that talent of acting, to be there in the first place, but then your gift of teaching and the compassion that you have, and the heart that you have for people, to make an impact on their lives. And so I just, definitely want to affirm the acting talent for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, so another thing we're doing this season is we're just asking folks a very basic question, which has a lot of weight to it. But
Yes, it
it's
does.
as basic as we can make it, which is if you could tell someone one thing about Jesus, what would it be?
That is such an interesting question because it absolutely would depend on if I was talking to a believer or a non-believer. But I think the one thing that I love to tell people is that I think a lot of people feel a lot of condemnation and a lot of guilt, feel they can't be good enough. And I like to tell people Jesus loves you exactly where you are.
Yes.
But
Amen.
he loves you too much to leave you where you are.
Yeah.
I love that. Christian or non-Christian, we need to hear that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I love that. I think that's an excellent answer.
And it is true either way. It's true either way.
It's true either way.
He loves us. It's just amazing. It's amazing how much he loves us.
Oh,
Amen.
For sure. Well, so how can folks connect with you? Are you online?
I am. I have a Facebook. I'm old, so that's about as far as I get.
It's all good.
Yeah, but it's. I'm Les Best. LESBEST. Les Best.
That's
Awesome.
Well, good.
Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. This has been a great way to start our day. And this was just such a blessing. And I love talking with like-minded folks who love the arts and who get it. And so thank you so much for sharing with us and for being here this morning.
Well, you are so welcome. And thank you so very much for having me. It really has been a privilege and an honor. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been great to meet you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast with Les. This podcast was made possible through generous listeners and friends like you, and we are so very grateful to all of our supporters. If you would like to sponsor an episode, you can head over to thecollaborationconversation.org and click sponsor an episode.
For more information on Project Brickworks, visit us online at projectbrickworks.org. Subscribe to our newsletter or text BRICK to 55498 to get the latest news and updates. We love you all. Be blessed. We'll see you next time. Bye.